Unnecessary tension in your body is your worst enemy. It can destroy your sound, your finger technique, and even lead to pain and injury. So in our September series, we're going to focus in on some tips and tricks on how to release tension in various parts of the body and give you some exercises to use to help you move in the right direction. This week, we're going to zone in on breathing and all the different areas the tension can creep in. First, before you even take a breath, you need to think about your posture. How we're standing or sitting is going to affect how we're using all our muscles in our body, and how we're using our muscles in our body are going to affect how we take a breath and then how we play. So what we want is the most neutral spine that we can manage. If you're someone like me, you might be a bit of a back archer when you're playing. So what you'll want to do is kind of tuck your pelvis underneath instead. So it's the difference between and okay, or maybe you're the opposite and you kind of collapse into your hips forward like this. So you want to release that. Okay, it's the same when you're sitting. It doesn't matter if you're sitting or standing. You want your spine to be neutral. So sometimes you'll see in band, kind of this kind of thing, or maybe someone doesn't realize they're doing a little bit of this. Anything that keeps your spine as neutral as possible so that when you breathe, you can just open, expand. You're not using any extra tension. Now, if you're not completely sure if your spine is neutral, sometimes what I'll do is lay on the ground like this with my knees up and bent, just because then my spine is completely neutral, and then I'll take a breath and play. Obviously it feels a little bit strange, but you're going to have the most open breath because you're going to have a very neutral spine and you're not really using any extra muscles. It's a quick trick you can try, and then you'll stand up and see if you can recreate the feeling of that neutral spine. You can be up and down in between just to see if you're doing it correctly. Once you feel confident that your posture is in place, then you want to start thinking about if there's any tension in your chest area when you're taking a breath. So a collapsed rib cage is going to be the most common problem. Often we'll see kind of collapse like this. It's really hard to fill the bottom of your lungs. So you want to be raised, like you're about to give someone a big, warm, open hug. Okay, just really raised, open at the sides. Okay, nothing too arched, but nothing collapsed as well. And then you're going to want to keep that position as you play, as a side note. Okay, the other things could be, angled like this, angled like this. Anything that's collapsing one or the other side of the lungs is going to get in the way and create some tension in your back, in your abdominals. Is going to get in the way of the sound. And then also just the way that your arms are. So are they way up like this? Or are they too collapsed, or do you have one or the other? Anything like that that's getting in the way of just having your rib cage able to just expand and collapse in a really natural way is going to add tension and kind of interrupt your sound. So the last thing we need to think about is shoulder, neck, and mouth and throat tension. We're at the top of the breath here now. Okay, if you take a breath and you raise your shoulders, it's really hard to fill the bottom part of your lungs. So again, shoulders down, chest out, like you're giving someone a hug. Okay, that way it's neutral. You're not adding any muscle use or tension just to hold the flute up. You want to make sure it's really balanced between the hands so that you're not having to have any tension. Arms up like this also creates a ton of tension, which creeps into your throat and neck. Okay, then inside your mouth, you want to shape kind of like a yawn. Okay, that's the most neutral way to take a breath. You can change the shape based on the vowel or the register you're going to play in. You might want a larger cavern kind of shape for a low register or a big warm sound. You might want an E vowel for a high or quiet sound. You can do that as long as you're staying really neutral and relaxed as you do it. Okay, another trick can be to just make a hole in your hand that's really wide and put your mouth around it. And then it shows you how open this can all be and relaxed. If you're struggling to take a relaxed breath, okay, sit down, lie on the floor, do anything to see where, analyze where that tension is creeping in, and then you can try again and see if you can recreate it when standing, okay? If you have any questions, definitely post, let us know. So for the exercise this week, we're going to start with the study in B flat that Sarah wrote for practicing breathing in. I want you to analyze when you're playing this for every single breath, how's my posture? Is my spine neutral? Are my shoulders down? Is my rib cage collapsed or is it open? Is my throat closed? Okay, just identifying the tension is going to be your first step, and then working through the exercise slowly will help. Okay. So if you have incorrect posture, maybe let's try a little bit pushed forward ribs, kind of collapse like this. Okay, it's kind of constricted, or maybe we've got some tension in here. So it's harder to control my vibrato, and it's harder to breathe, and it just sounds a little bit tighter. The best thing you can do in this process is to record yourself and watch back to see if you can see any tension. Often we can't really feel because it's such a habit that's creeped in, but if you watch yourself play, you might see right away, whoa, I'm back on my heels. I didn't even know that I'm not really like supporting my body in a neutral way. Or maybe you'll notice that your arms are really collapsed or that your chest is collapsed. Something that you may not feel, sometimes it's easier to see it visually. So I would highly recommend that you do record yourself. If you're wanting more tips and tricks about tension in your body, join us in our free Skool community, Fundamentally Flute. We're spending all of this month on how to release tension in various areas of your body, and we'd love to see you on the inside.